All right, everyone, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, you can kind of see probably where we're going, right? So we're going to be talking about the Yngwie Strats. And I have to give a shout out to one of the viewers. I don't know why I haven't done this video. This makes total sense just because of so many questions that are asked kind of around this subject. Not exactly this subject, but around the subject of neck width, right, over the years. So I had honestly never even thought about it before. I've never busted out my caliper, and I used a digital caliper for this, just to see what the neck widths are like over the years, right? So shout out to AMG Dens. He recently commented on one of my videos. He picked up a 2006 Yngwie Strat, so congratulations, my friend. Thank you for the idea for the video. I think this will be a good one for a lot of the viewers because people ask this in a roundabout way, right? I notice over in the Yngwie Malmsteen guitar and gear enthusiast group we have on Facebook, a lot of people always ask about the dreaded, oh shit, you know, the fret, the string sliding off of the fretboard, right? So that seems to happen kind of more on some of the later years versus the earlier years. So we're going to get into this and look into maybe some of the why. And I didn't do the bridge measurements on these, right? So this is just the neck, but there is some interesting stuff here. So check it out, right? So this is a 1988. So this is the very first year. This one actually has the DiMarzio tuners. So very cool. And this one, when I first got it, it actually had those EMG silent pickups, whatever. So I put the YJM Duncans on this one. But anyway, so we're going to talk about the width right here at the nut, and then we're going to talk about it at the 21st fret. So what I did was I took the caliper from the front and I put it over here, and then I pinched it so that it would get snug right on there. And then I did the same exact thing at the 21st fret. I lined it, both of the claws, up on the 21st fret, and then I squeezed it. And then I made sure to look at the gauge and pull it off so that it didn't change, right? So I try to get as consistent numbers as possible. So this will be our baseline, and I know this isn't what he uses these days, right? But it's just a good idea to check it out just because it's part of the history of his strats, right? So, and of course, keep in mind, this could vary greatly depending on your humidity and all kinds of other factors. So this is just kind of a general idea, potentially, of what this may look like. So at the nut, this one is just straight up 42 millimeters wide, right? And that translates into 1.652 inches, if that makes more sense to your brain. The millimeters is obviously a little easier to see the difference here. So 42 millimeters at the nut, and at the 21st fret, it is 55.77 millimeters right here across. 55.77 and 2.196 inch, right? So that's the 1988. We're just gonna go from older to newer. Hopefully that doesn't fall. All right, so then we move on to 2006, right? So this one, as with the rest of them, well, almost all the rest of them, these are based on extremely early 70s Strats. That one was based on a 1957 Strat. So of course it's gonna be a little bit different, right? But now this one, so the first one was 42 millimeters at the nut. This one is 42.4. Doesn't sound like a huge difference, but when you're on a guitar, that every tenth of a millimeter in a lot of instances, you can actually tell the difference when you're playing. And then at the bass, it is, let's see, it's actually a little bit more narrow than the first generation at the bass here. So it's 55.53 millimeters, and the 1988 is 55.77 millimeters. So it seems like it got a little bit more narrow as we moved on into the 70s based Strats for Yngwie Strats. That is the 2006. Now we're going to move on to the 2014. So as you guys have seen me say on many occasions from the production models, this one is my favorite. It just has the best overall fit, finish, and quality, and of course monster deep scallops, which I really like, super jumbo frets, and the YJM Duncans, right? So this one at the nut is 41.51 millimeters. So that's actually almost 1 millimeter more narrow than the 2006. Then at the base, so at the 21st fret, it's actually a little wider. So down here, it's actually 56 millimeters, right? Whereas the 2006 was 55.53. So that's a pretty significant difference, especially when you're talking about that, you know, dreaded string slipping off the fretboard, right? Let's see. So now things might get interesting because now we're moving on to the 2016. So that was kind of, at least from what I've seen, the kind of the transition period to where people started having more string slipping off the fretboard issues. And it may not have only to do with the width of the fret, or the neck rather. It could also have to do with how the taper of your fret at the end is. It also could have to do with the bridge, but let's look at the 2016. So 2016, here we go. Let's see. So the nut width right here on the 2016 is 41.25. That's versus 41.5 millimeters on the 2014. So that's pretty significant difference right there. That's a lot more narrow. And then down here at the 21st fret, it's actually also quite a bit more narrow. It was 55.6 millimeters at the 21st fret, right? Whereas on the 2014, it was 56 millimeters. So that could definitely play into that dreaded fret or string slipping off the fretboard, right? So that's most of the production years. Just for the heck of it, guess what I threw in there? I'm sure you guys saw this coming, is the custom shop. Just to be like, well, you know, if they're replicating, this is replicating a 68 Fender Strat for Yngwie, and this one is 41.4 millimeters at the nut, which is pretty close to the rest, you know, at 41.2, 41.5, 42.4, so pretty close in the range, right? But then if you look down here at the bottom, it is 55.9 millimeters wide at the base, which is slightly wider than the 16, but not quite as wide as the 2014, right? So they're somewhat consistent, but you can definitely see the 2016 has a little bit more of a narrow neck overall, right? And of course, if you have different, you know, widths at both ends, that's going to change, you know, the shape of your neck, so to speak, or your fretboard. So just to summarize, so that we put it all together really quick, the nut width, and I'm just going to do millimeters so that we don't have to jump back and forth. So 1988 is 42 millimeters, 2006 42.4 millimeters, 2014 41.51 millimeters, 2016 41.25 millimeter, 2020 41.4 millimeters. So at the nut, the measurements are pretty consistent, right? They're all very close. But then when you look at the 21st fret, that's when you start seeing a little bit more of a delineation. So 1988 is 55.77 millimeters, 2006 55.53 millimeter, 2014 has the widest neck. This also might be why I like it the most. I don't know, could be one of the many contributing factors. 56 millimeters has the widest base. 2016 55.6 millimeter, and then 2020, that's the custom shop, 55.9 millimeters. So that will give you kind of a general indication of the width of the neck, and that might give you, you know, point you in one way or another. Maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Hopefully it's been helpful. If you like my content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank y'all.